Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Grab your favorite range brew and pull up a chair. Today we are taking a hard look at the reality of the secondary firearms market. If you look back just a couple of years ago, we were living in the wild west of panic buying. I am talking about a time when you could not find a single small pistol primer on a shelf to save your life. People were throwing down serious cash for literally anything that could launch a projectile. But my friends, the dust has officially settled. The supply chains have recovered, the distributor warehouses are packed to the rafters, and the industry has shifted back to a buyer's market. On top of that, firearms manufacturers are pushing out incredible next-generation technology. These new advancements are making the standard everyday carry setups from 5 years ago look absolutely prehistoric. Because of this rapid innovation, we are witnessing a severe crash in the resale value of some incredibly popular platforms. Today, we are going inside the vault to examine 11 specific firearms that have taken an absolute nosedive on the used market. Now let me be crystal clear before we start. If you have one of these sitting in your gun safe right now, do not panic. A reliable tool is a reliable tool, and if it runs perfectly for you, that is all that matters. However, if you are heading down to your local gun shop hoping to trade up for the latest and greatest, you need a serious reality check on what your gear is actually worth today. Let us dive right into the list. Number 11. The Savage Axis, Generation 1. Starting off our list, we are looking at a rifle that used to absolutely dominate the entry-level hunting market. The Savage Axis Generation 1 was the undisputed king of the budget bolt-action category. I remember days when a guy could walk into a big-box sporting goods store with $300 and walk out ready for deer season. Here is the honest truth about this rifle. Savage has always known exactly how to hammer forge a highly accurate barrel. From a bench rest, these budget guns were absolute laser beams on paper. The harsh reality is that everything bolted onto that excellent barrel felt like it was molded out of melted-down water bottles. The polymer stock had so much flex in the forend that just resting it on a sandbag would push the plastic right up against the barrel, completely ruining your harmonics. The bolt lift was notoriously stiff and gritty. And do not even get me started on the trigger, which was heavy enough to drag your crosshairs completely off the target. Today, the consumer is vastly more educated, and the market has simply cooled off. Shooters are no longer willing to tolerate that rough, unrefined experience. For just a handful of extra dollars, you can upgrade to the Axis Generation 2, featuring that fantastic user-adjustable AccuTrigger. Alternatively, you could grab a Ruger American that actually provides a rigid, dependable chassis. Right now, local pawn shops and gun stores are absolutely drowning in traded-in Generation 1 models. If you are trying to sell one, expect to see insulting offers. You are realistically looking at a used street value hovering between $150 and $180. It served a purpose as a great starter rifle, but the modern market has completely left it behind. Number 10. The Heritage Rough Rider. Next up, we have a firearm that I admittedly have a huge soft spot for. The Heritage Rough Rider is a .22 long rifle, single-action revolver that practically bleeds American nostalgia. For the cost of filling up your pickup truck with premium gas, this little six-shooter gave everyone the chance to feel like an Old West lawman. During the peak of the recent ammunition shortages, folks were buying these up by the crate just to have something cheap and fun to shoot at the local gravel pit. But eventually, the honeymoon phase ends, and the reality check hits hard. The single-action gate loader is incredibly fun for the first hour, but it gets tedious very quickly. You have to half-cock the hammer, open the gate, load a single cartridge, rotate the cylinder, and repeat. Then, when it is time to reload, you are forced to manually punch out every single spent casing, one by one, using the spring-loaded ejector rod. It completely breaks your rhythm on the firing line. Once that cowboy novelty inevitably wears off, the vast majority of shooters realize they would much rather be running a semi-automatic rimfire, or at least a modern double-action revolver with a swing-out cylinder. Brand new Rough Riders are aggressively priced by the factory, frequently going on sale for as low as $100. Because the barrier to entry for a brand new one is practically non-existent, the used market for this gun is entirely dead. It remains a fantastic tool for teaching new shooters, but as an investment, it holds absolutely zero retained value. Number 9. The Smith & Wesson M&P Shield Generation 1. This next one actually stings a bit, because we are talking about a certified everyday carry legend. When Smith & Wesson unleashed the original M&P Shield back in 2012, it completely revolutionized the concealed carry landscape. It offered incredible reliability, a deeply concealable slim profile, and it managed recoil like a full-size duty weapon. For almost a decade, it felt like every single responsibly armed American had a Generation 1 shield holstered inside their waistband. But in the tactical world, technology waits for absolutely no one. The era of the single-stack 9mm pistol has officially come to a close. We have fully entered the golden age of the high-capacity micro-compact. It is extremely difficult to justify carrying 7 or 8 rounds when modern engineering gives you firearms like the Shield Plus, packing 13 rounds of 9mm into the exact same footprint. On top of that, Smith & Wesson finally listened to their consumer base and completely overhauled the trigger, eliminating that gritty, hinged plastic shoe found on the original models. Because so many people have upgraded to higher capacity options, used Generation 1 shields are stacking up like cordwood in used display cases across the country. You can easily walk into any shop and snag one in great condition for about $240 all day long. It will still save your life in a bad situation, but the modern defensive shooter absolutely demands double-digit capacity. Number 8. The Glock 43. Speaking of the shift in ammunition capacity, we have to talk about the original Glock 43. For years, the Glock community relentlessly begged the factory in Smyrna to produce a slim, single-stack 9mm. When it finally hit the store shelves, the hype was absolutely astronomical. It delivered that legendary, indestructible Glock reliability inside a remarkably tiny, pocket-friendly package. However, the celebration was incredibly short-lived. SIG completely disrupted the industry with the release of the P365, and Springfield Armory fired right back with the Hellcat. Overnight, carrying a measly 6 rounds in your primary magazine felt dangerously inadequate for modern personal defense. Now, I know some of you are shouting at the screen right now, telling me you can just throw on aftermarket magazine extensions. While that is true, adding those base plates stretches the grip out until it is nearly identical in length to a Glock 19. At that point, you have completely defeated the purpose of carrying a deep concealment micro-compact. Glock eventually realized this and released the 43X and the 48, which have entirely cannibalized the market share of the original 43. As a result, used values for the original model have steadily plummeted and stabilized somewhere between $370 and $400. It still makes a highly dependable backup gun for your ankle holster, but as a primary inside-the-waistband option, that low round count is a massive liability. Number 7. The Springfield XDM Elite. Coming in at number 7 is an absolute workhorse, the Springfield XDM Elite. Let me tell you, out of the box, this platform boasts one of the absolute best factory striker-fired triggers you will ever lay your finger on. It features phenomenal ergonomics, match-grade accuracy, and ships with magazines that hold an absolute ton of ammunition. By all metrics, it is a thoroughly duty-ready professional-grade sidearm. So, you might be asking, why is the secondary market value dropping like a rock? The answer is simple friendly fire. Springfield Armory essentially nuked their own legacy product line with the highly anticipated release of the Echelon. The Echelon represents a massive leap forward in handgun design, utilizing a serialized modular stainless steel chassis system, very similar to the SIG P320. It boasts a significantly lower bore axis, allowing for faster follow-up shots, and features a revolutionary direct mount optics system that completely eliminates the need for expensive adapter plates. Most importantly, for a large segment of the shooting community, the Echelon finally ditched the grip safety. The Echelon is clearly the flagship future of Springfield Armory, instantly rendering the XDM family as obsolete, legacy technology. If you scour the used racks, you can routinely find gently used XDM Elites priced anywhere from $380 to $420. That is a staggering amount of capability for the price tag, but unfortunately, it is yesterday's news. Number 6. The Kel-Tec Sub 2000 Generation 2. Next on the chopping block is the Kel-Tec Sub 2000. When this concept first dropped, it was hailed as a stroke of pure, unadulterated innovation. A reliable 9mm pistol-caliber carbine that practically folds in half and feeds from standard Glock magazines, that is the ultimate prepper and survivalist dream gun. It was perfectly designed to be thrown into a bug-out bag, stashed under a truck seat, or concealed inside a gym duffel. However, the Generation 2 had a glaring, fatal flaw in its design geometry. If you wanted to fold the gun completely flat, you absolutely could not mount a red dot optic directly to the top rail. Owners were forced to spend big money on complex, pivoting aftermarket mounts that were notoriously frustrating to keep properly zeroed. Kel-Tec finally recognized the problem and rolled out the Generation 3, featuring an ingenious twisting forend that allows the optic to rotate out of the way while the rifle folds. To make matters worse for the Gen 2, the Smith & Wesson FPC recently stormed the market. The FPC folds horizontally straight out of the box, does not disturb your optic, and operates with a significantly softer recoil impulse. Speaking of recoil, let us be brutally honest here. Firing the straight blowback action of a Sub 2000 feels exactly like taking a brass knuckle punch directly to your cheekbone. Because of these new innovations, Generation 2 models are gathering heavy dust on store shelves, struggling to pull in $350 to $400 on trade. Number 5. The Ruger AR-556. For the better part of a decade, whenever a buddy or a student asked me what their very first AR-15 should be, my answer was immediate. I told them to go buy a Ruger AR-556. It is a tank of a rifle, built rugged, highly dependable, and backed by Ruger's legendary customer service department. It simply worked every time you pulled the trigger. However, the landscape of the modern sporting rifle has completely transformed over the last 5 years. Standard Ruger AR-556 ships with an old-school fixed A2 front sight post, a standard carbine-length gas system, a non-free-floated barrel, and cheap drop-in plastic handguards. In today's tactical space, that configuration is ancient history. Manufacturers like Palmetto State Armory are actively flooding the market with budget-friendly rifles that feature mid-length gas systems, free-floated M-LOK aluminum rails, and upgraded modern furniture, all for the exact same price or even cheaper. Modern shooters demand instant modularity right out of the cardboard box. They want the ability to seamlessly mount weapon lights, infrared lasers, and foregrips without having to bolt on heavy, clunky Picatinny rail sections. The Ruger remains an incredibly solid defensive tool, but it undeniably belongs to a bygone era of rifle setup. If you are trying to offload one today, you will be lucky to see offers hovering right around $500. Number 4. The Mossberg Patriot. We all know that Mossberg absolutely dominates the pump-action shotgun market. The Mossberg 590A1 is arguably the finest, most rugged trench gun on the planet. But when they tried to capture the entry-level hunting market with their bolt-action Patriot rifle, they largely missed the mark. On paper, it looked like a winner, marketed as an affordable working-class deer rifle, complete with a very handsome spiral-fluted bolt. But once you actually get it out into the field, the cost-cutting measures become painfully obvious. The bolt throw feels incredibly sloppy and lacks the tight tolerances you expect from a precision instrument. To make matters worse, the injection-molded polymer stock is exceptionally flimsy, flexing heavily under the recoil of full-powered hunting loads. Now that the Ruger American Generation 2 has hit the scene, bringing heavily upgraded magazines, stiffer stocks, and factory suppressor-ready threaded barrels, the Patriot has been completely outclassed. The modern American hunter is no longer satisfied with minute-of-deer accuracy. They are aggressively upgrading to budget-friendly chassis rifles that guarantee sub-MOA precision and feature highly superior ergonomics. If you are attempting to sell a used Mossberg Patriot chambered in traditional calibers like .30-06 or .270, brace yourself. You will likely be looking at incredibly low-ball offers, right around $340. Number 3. The Taurus Judge. Coming in at number 3 is a firearm that I have to admit is an absolute masterclass in aggressive marketing. The Taurus Judge, a massive 5-shot revolver chambered for both .45 long Colt and .410 shotgun shells, took the industry by storm. It was relentlessly heavily promoted as the ultimate unstoppable carjacking defense weapon and the perfect nightstand gun. As a result of that brilliant marketing campaign, the American public bought literally millions of these things. But folks, we have to look at the cold, hard science, because terminal ballistics simply do not lie. When you fire a standard .410 shot shell out of a deeply rifled 3-inch pistol barrel, the spin effect causes the shot cup to open violently and the pattern to spread out almost immediately upon exiting the muzzle. At standard self-defense distances, say 7 to 10 yards, you could easily miss a human-sized target completely with more than half of your payload. Worse yet, if you load it with .410 birdshot, you are achieving absolutely abysmal penetration depths, which will not reliably stop an aggressive, determined threat. It is a heavy, incredibly bulky firearm that suffers from severe recoil and offers a highly limited ammunition capacity. Don't get me wrong, it is an absolute blast to take to the range and completely obliterate watermelons or 2-liter soda bottles. But the tactical community and serious concealed carriers have universally moved back to high-capacity 9mm handguns, carrying premium hollow points. The secondary market is absolutely flooded with used Judges right now, severely driving prices down to the $350 to $400 range. Number 2. The CZ Scorpion Evo 3. This next one genuinely hurts to talk about because it feels like a modern tragedy in the firearms world. Just a few short years ago, the CZ Scorpion Evo 3 was the undisputed heavyweight champion of the pistol-caliber carbine market. It featured an incredibly aggressive tactical aesthetic, the factory magazines were dirt cheap, and the aftermarket support was absolutely astronomical. For a long time, it truly felt like the rightful heir to the legendary H&K MP5 throne for the average civilian shooter. However, 2 massive factors completely derailed the Scorpion train. First, CZ dropped the completely redesigned 3 Plus model. The new version featured vastly superior AR-style ergonomics, making the original S1 and S2 generations feel awkwardly blocky and outdated in the hands. But the second, much more devastating blow came from the online gun community. The internet forums and Reddit boards exploded with heavily documented reports of extremely soft factory bolt material. This metallurgical failure was actively causing terrifying out-of-battery detonations, literally blowing receivers apart. Now, to be fair, it is a relatively rare malfunction, but in the gun industry, reputation is absolutely everything, and that news deeply spooked the consumer base. Mind wants to drop top dollar on a firearm, only to realize they immediately need to buy a $300 aftermarket titanium bolt just to ensure it won't explode near their face. Combine that severe loss of public trust with aggressive competition from highly refined, roller-delayed blowback platforms like the Grand Power Strybog, and the Scorpion's value went into a total freefall. Highly customized setups that used to easily command premium top-tier pricing are now struggling to find buyers even in the $800 to $1,000 range. Number 1. The Marlin 1895. And finally, taking our number 1 spot for the biggest market heartbreaker, we have the legendary Marlin 1895, chambered in the massive 4570 government. A few years back, largely thanks to major Hollywood blockbusters like Jurassic World and the gritty Western thriller Wind River, the tactical lever-action craze exploded into the mainstream. Every gun owner suddenly wanted a suppressed, space cowboy lever gun, and the secondary market prices for these Marlins shot straight to the moon. But here is the massive, unavoidable catch. Absolute peak of this lever gun chaos. Marlin was unfortunately owned by the now-defunct Remington Outdoor Group. The rifles produced during this dark era earned the highly derogatory nickname, the Remlins. These specific batches were absolutely plagued with horrific quality control. ranging from severe fit and finish issues, canted front sights, to lever actions so rough they felt like they were packed with construction sand. Fast forward to today, and the incredible team at Ruger has completely taken over Marlin's manufacturing. Ruger is currently turning out some of the absolute finest, highest quality lever-action rifles that have ever left a factory floor. Because of this, absolutely nobody wants to pay inflated collector prices for a sketchy, poorly assembled Remlin, especially when they can easily acquire a brand new, Ruger-made Marlin that cycles like a Swiss watch. On top of the manufacturing issues, we have to talk about the current state of ammunition economics. Buying factory 4570 government ammunition right now will easily cost you $3 to $4 every single time you pull that trigger. The reality is that a lot of guys buy these big-bore thumpers, shoot one single 20-round box of ammunition, realize their shoulder is bruised and their wallet is empty, and then relegate the rifle to becoming a permanent safe queen. Because the market has realized this, prices on used Remlin models have corrected incredibly hard, violently settling back down to around the $1,100 mark. Alright folks, there you have it. That is our deep dive into 11 highly popular firearms that have experienced a brutal, unforgiving market correction. Now, I want to reiterate what I said at the start of this video. If you currently own any of the firearms we just discussed, and you shoot them well, and they run flawlessly for you, absolutely keep them and continue to train hard. The true, undeniable value of any defensive firearm lies entirely in your personal ability to operate it under extreme stress, not what some outdated blue book tells you it is worth. However, if you are an active player in the trade and upgrade game, you need to navigate these waters with your eyes wide open. Now, I want to turn it over to you. Jump down into the comments section right now and let me know your thoughts. Have you personally taken a harsh financial loss on any of the guns on this list? Or maybe you got lucky and snagged one of these for an absolute steal at your local pawn shop. I read every single comment, and I want to hear your real-world experiences. If you found value in this breakdown and learned something new today, do me a huge favor and smash that like button. It tells the algorithm that we are putting out the hard truths that the Second Amendment community needs to hear. Already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss our straight talk reviews on the gear you trust your life with. Until next time, stay vigilant, train like your life depends on it, and always keep your powder dry.